All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Fight Scrubs Podcast, episode 4. I am Kim1234 here with F Word and Phenom. How you guys doing?
What's up?
What's up?
All right, let's
What's
jump straight
up?
into it. Let's jump straight into it. There's a very, very interesting result that happened just last night. Well, I don't know, morning for you guys. And UFC 271, I believe, Israel Adesanya beats Robert Whitaker. Unanimous decision, slightly controversial. Even the professionals are saying they don't agree. So I would like to get your professional opinion as well. So yes, the result basically, like I said, what is it? 48-47, 48-47, 49-46 for Adesanya. And let me ask first off, without us going straight up into the analysis, who do you think won? You can start off,
Yeah, I think Adesanya did win the fight. It was very close. I think it was probably like even if one of the scorecards says 49-46, I think all those rounds were still very close. So it wasn't as dominant as maybe some people expected. I don't. I think maybe Rob thought he won because he got some takedowns, but he didn't really do anything with them. Maybe he thought that edged the judges' scorecard in his favor. But I think the fact that he didn't do anything when he landed the takedowns, it didn't give him any extra, points in the judges' scorecard. And then when they were striking with each other, Whitaker was very competitive, but it was just Adesanya landed a little bit more than him, and it was extremely close. But I do think Adesanya won the fight.
Yeah, I think Adesanya won as well. I don't think it was that close, in my opinion. I mean, I could see where people are coming from with how you score fights. I do think it was quite a clear victory, but it wasn't a dominant victory. It was definitely competitive, and I do feel like it's quite frustrating. And we'll get into this later, but it was quite frustrating to see Whitaker land so many jabs and not follow up. You can see Israel's like stunned at times, like not dazed, but like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And then he just stopped. He was so scared of the counter. And I think you got to also take into consideration with fights like this how they judge octagon control and move. And if you're watching that fight from the outside looking in, you're not worried for Israel at any point. Like Whitaker wasn't really fighting in a way that you'd feel concerned. But I was concerned for Whitaker throughout, throughout the fight. So yeah, I feel like it was a clear win in terms of I'd definitely give at least 3 rounds to Israel from what I remember.
So no bias here. Like Adesanya is my favorite fighter. So after I saw it the first time, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking like damage-wise, it's all Adesanya. It's all Adesanya. Like, but this is a sport, right? It's not like a street fight. So maybe Whitaker won on the takedowns. I didn't recall just how much damage there was. There was definitely a fight-ending sequence that happened with like a rear naked attempt. But how I saw it was that leg was getting beaten up real bad, really, really bad. Whitaker might have landed like jabs. He landed really good left hooks, actually, all left side dominant for some reason. And then,
weird, wasn't it?
And then the thing was like, I didn't recall, so that's why I watched it again. Just what did he do with that takedown? How long did it last? Right? Because in our mind, it's like, is he got taken down? We never see this. Okay, like what's about to happen? So like our concentration is already like split, So let's go by this round by round. Obviously, like I'm just going to provide my notes here, but if you guys recall whatever, just be sure to stop me whenever. So the first round starts, and this is pretty clearly Izzy's round, right? So this is
That's his best round. That's his best round of fight. So credit to Whitaker for that, because there was no round more dominant than the first round, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can recall like when he was on the stool and starting in the second round, he also he didn't have the same look. There was no confidence in his eyes at all. But
what was going on with Whitaker there? Yeah, I think his game plan kind of got challenged by how difficult that first round was, right?
Yeah,
so maybe he was questioning himself.
It was a really slow first round. So there was actually a lot of leg kicks thrown on both sides. Izzy ended up on top of that. I think I think it's really interesting the way that he defends like Robert's kind of signature knee stomp. Is that what it's called? Like a knee stomp type of move. He just kind of like leans forward into the knee or into the foot rather, so that it doesn't do any damage. But yeah, there was also like a straight left that went down the pipe, knocked Whitaker down.
That ended the round, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. And then from that point on, I have a note here that was probably at 3 minutes. So from that knockdown, 2 minutes on, Whitaker was defenseless or totally on the defense the entire time. So I don't think we're going to argue that. Yeah, Izzy won that round.
No, that round was the clearest round. I agree. And I think that round you can see Whitaker is trying to collect data. You know, I think he was happy to concede that round prior to going into the fight. He was happy to take his time. He rushed in a lot and got clipped for it the first fight round. You know, so he had a whole different strategy he was planning. But I do feel like he ended up discouraged by how difficult it was to impose his game plan, like towards the second half of that round. But then, without doing much wrong, he found himself on his butt. You know, so that must have instilled a ton of fear in him and a ton of self-doubt. I'm just guessing, because he went to that corner as if he'd been 10-8. It wasn't a 10-8, but he looked like he just survived. And he's like, man, this is horrible. I don't know what I'm doing here. You know, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, he was definitely fighting some demons, and then those demons returned in that first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after that, I think he recovered pretty well.
Credit to his corner, man.
Yeah, he found his timing a lot better, and he adjusted pretty well for the remaining 4 rounds. But like Kim said, from a point system, like from a point standpoint, or from like as Connery once said, from a sporting standpoint, I could see like, oh, maybe some of the judges could give this to Whitaker, because it's like it all depends on how they view the takedowns, right? Some judges, they put a decent amount of weight on just getting a takedown, even though you don't do anything with it.
I've got to open. I know we don't want to drag too much on this, but I'm curious to understand how you guys view a takedown. Forget everything else that happens afterwards. How much weight do you put on a takedown?
If you don't do anything, like if you put them to the ground and they just fucking pop right back up, it's like you have to look at the overall round, right? And then I think you have to make like a decision based on what everything else that happened in the round. Like you can't like I think like Adesanya was winning on the feet, right? By a little, not by a lot, by a little bit. But then he got the takedowns. So what then as a judge you think, okay, but they were like 50-45 on the feet or 60-40 on the feet. And then when he get the takedown, does that edge it in Rob's favor? No, because he didn't do any damage or he didn't control him or anything. You know, it was, in a sense, he got him down, but the fact that he got straight back up, it's almost as if the takedown failed, if you know what I mean. In a sense.
How do you weigh the significance of it? Oh, sorry, go on, finish, Phenom.
Yeah, like it's as if the takedown kind of failed. He popped right back up every time and just got back into his face, even though obviously it did not fail. He got him down, but it had that same, you know, it wasn't meaningful for the fight, if you know what I mean. So it wasn't meaningful to each round. Whenever the rounds he landed the takedown, it didn't affect the fight negatively for Adesanya at all, or it didn't. It didn't help Rob that much either. So that's probably why in this fight it didn't. You know, you can't really give him much points for that.
Yeah, I think this is why we need more than 3 judges. And they probably need to spend a little bit more time, to be honest, coming up with the decision. I know that actually doesn't get.
But how much emphasis do you put on a takedown, Kim? I'm really curious. I mean, I know where I stand and I'll go into it in a second. But how much emphasis do you put on a takedown and the takedowns that you saw in the fight?
Yeah. So from round 2 all the way to round 5, Whitaker gets 1 takedown each. Actually, so it depends on what Phenom mentioned, what he does with it. So the very first takedown he gets, he does land a couple of strikes, and Izzy is defending that entire takedown for a minute. In round 3, he gets taken down, but he got taken down because Izzy went for a head kick and he just kind of blocked it and then charged forward. But no strike.
That was well taken. That was well taken.
Yeah, no
Yeah, they
strikes were
felt
landed by
close.
Whitaker though. Izzy uses a kimura actually to separate from it. So that one, that's why I give round 3 to Izzy. Round 2, there was more control with the takedown, because I think the takedown. Because if you want to give Whitaker a reason on why he won, it's not because he outstruck Izzy. That's not even a conversation. It's what he did with these takedowns and what they really meant. And then round 4, Izzy landed this cool like takedown defense and like jump knee. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember that. Yeah, the little hop knee while he had a leg. Rob was holding one of his legs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he still managed to do a hop knee. That was crazy with the opposite leg.
And then round 5, he does this like crazy blast double. He takes down Izzy, no strikes, but Whitaker separates and then lands a left hook. So
yeah, that's a great hook. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough because takedowns should matter. There is what's the word here? The curriculum or whatever for this type of stuff, and obviously octagon control is at the very end. So it's really tricky because damage is up top, so it should be really damage. Octagon controls at the very bottom if there is like kind of a stalemate. But this is a difficult fight where there's no stalemate actually, in my opinion. It's all about, did the damage matter or did those takedowns matter? And then that's why, to me, I think Izzy won because he did the damage. Like Whitaker's not walking great today, that's for sure.
And the takedowns didn't really affect the fight that much in Whitaker's favor, I think.
I don't think they did. They were. I don't think Israel was impacted enough by the takedowns for me to put emphasis on them. Now, don't get me wrong. This is my frustration with judges that put so much emphasis on the takedown. If it was a wrestling match, I mean, it isn't. It's mixed martial arts. If it was a wrestling match, I mean, you saw Colby Covington after he fought Usman, and Usman he grabbed him. I think it was round 3, and he ran with him, and Usman turned his back, and he fell to one knee, and then got back up. And Covington was like, "I'm the first person to ever take down Usman in a wrestling match. That's a takedown, right?" Yeah. But how much did that fucking matter in the actual fight? Like, if we're being honest. And Covington was fuming, like, "Oh, they didn't score that a takedown." It's like, if it was a wrestling match, any kind of takedown for me is a huge deal, and it is. Right? It's not a wrestling match; it's a fight. It's a mixed martial arts fight, right? So, I know it's a sport and it's got to be scored a certain way as well. But there's got to be some end goal or some advantage you've gained from taking someone down. Did you take them down in an extremely dominant manner? Did you slam them? Did you control them on the ground? There's loads of wrestlers out there that are so good they don't even do damage. They just control the opponent and bore us all to death. But they're still winning that fight, right? There wasn't really anything like that there, which I think even Whitaker will be a bit a bit disappointed with, because a couple of those takedowns were freaking. To time a takedown on Israel is so freaking scary and difficult. There was 2 in that fight that were perfectly timed, where he dipped the jab, caught him perfectly, and just took him down. There's nothing he could do about it. But then he didn't actually gain anything from the takedown, which is credit to Israel. So for me, they play a very small factor in the overall weight of the fight. I actually think Whitaker did way better in the striking than people are giving him credit for. There was definitely a round where I feel he outstruck Adesanya. There was one round, definitely. Even though it was very cautious and tentative, Israel also adopted a very cautious and tentative and risk-averse approach to almost the entire fight, which put this at risk, because I feel like he could have overextended a bit more to make something happen. But he allowed Whitaker to really land and not really pay any consequence. He was waiting for Whitaker to dip the right hand, and it just never happened. And Whitaker was aware of that, you know?
I mean, that's kind of just Adesanya's style.
It is,
he's very... Anderson Silva was the same. Anderson never led the offense. He was always waiting. So there were some fights that were so boring because the other guy was too scared to approach Anderson, and Anderson was never gonna approach. It was not his style. And Adesanya is literally almost the same type of fighter in a sense. Like if the guy is not coming forward, he's not gonna overextend like ever. He's not gonna take a risk or try to set up any risky sort of offense. He's gonna just kick you from the outside. And try to maybe set up some head kicks or something like that. But when it comes to going for like the knockout blows and punches, he looks to counter you, right? So that's why I like, and I think Robert, from the first fight, he was just trying to rush in. He got knocked out. This time, he decided to wait a bit more, pick his spots a bit more, and Adesanya was just never gonna, chase him. And that's like, in fighting games where you are, let's say you are Dalsim, right? You're never the one chasing your opponent, so it makes sense.
You're just doing your thing.
Adesanya is
Street Fighter 5 aside, yeah. Let's not.
Street Fighter 5 aside, but like Adesanya
Don't get
with
me
the
started
longer
on that,
reach,
Nelson.
when you have the longer reach and you have you're taller, you're longer.
Yeah.
There's no like logical reason for you to be like, all right, I'm gonna chase this guy down. You're just standing at your range, at your max range, right? And you're just moving in and out of that distance a little bit, just try to get him to come into you, and then you can't so. Adesanya
His distance management's really good as well.
Yeah, he's never gonna break that rule. He's a very experienced kickboxer. He's never gonna be like, I'm gonna take a risk for no reason. So,
but playing devil's advocate here, I feel like this is a great example of where it could. He's fortunate the judges did see it that way, because if someone had given that fight to Whitaker, I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised. But someone with maybe an argument along the lines of Kim, where you're analyzing all the little things that mattered in the takedown, and then all the jabs that landed. You could argue that, well, it's not like you battered the guy. There was quite a fine margin for this victory. I think he won clearly, but even in my opinion, Whitaker was one knockdown away from being the guy who won the fight as well.
He could have won if he fought the first round the same as he fought every round. Maybe one of the judges would have given him that round, and then it would have been 48-47 Whitaker, right? So. It's like it was very small.
Exactly.
Like the margin that decided the fight was actually very, very small. So that's why I think it was close.
I personally, I appreciate where you're coming from. I'm a big fan of the striking background as well, and the methodology that goes behind it, and the discipline. But I've got to say, man, I think Adesanya runs a risk if this is how he's going to approach every fight. There's going to be a risk of him losing a fight on points to someone that he could have definitely taken the lead in some way, shape, or form to pull it away. And this was a good example of that. So watching that fight, I was feeling like, okay, Whitaker's being very tentative. He's even got his corner shouting out, "Believe, Whitaker, believe," which probably didn't help when the judge is thinking who's winning this fight, Because he was probably he probably landed 5 jabs in that round. They're like, "Believe you can do it, Whitaker, come on." Like he was on the floor getting pounded, But I get why they were saying that. He wasn't fighting like himself. But at the same time, I looked at Adesanya and I was like, you could do a lot more here. You could.
Let's talk what Adesanya and Whitaker could do better next time. That could mean against each other if that fight does happen, and I think it could happen for sure. I think Whitaker is going to be number one for a while. I mean, number one contender. He's going to have to fight, unfortunately, probably like 3 people, 3 killers.
He's got to keep that. Can he keep that motivation though, Kim? Because the thing is, the motivation of getting back to Adesanya, right, was the belief that he could actually go out there and beat him. Now, I'm not sure I believed him when he said that at the end of the interview. I know everyone here feels it was close, but I'm not. His corner didn't think it was close, and I'm not sure I believed him when he said, "I thought I won the fight." It just sounded like he was just saying that.
Well, he has to feel better because he didn't get knocked the fuck out, so he has to feel better about his third chance.
And the fact that he took him down is a big. I think it showed a big weakness in Adesanya. It showed him like he got taken down a lot by a striker who has decent, he's not a bad wrestler, Whitaker, but he's not a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Good point. It's a good point.
So I think maybe Whitaker was like, man, if I just practiced what I do after the takedown, practice your ground game, you control him on the ground and try to limit his options as much as possible, channel his inner Habib in the next fight, somehow. So I think maybe that gave him a little bit of motivation in the sense that he kind of in his mind is like, man, I found this little gap here in his game. And I think Hamzat even tweeted he thinks he will beat Adesanya in 1 round. And I was like, man, if he can take him down like Whitaker did, then maybe because I don't think
he doesn't necessarily get back up.
Yeah, then he might, because against a guy like him,
he's not making 170 ever.
No,
Hamzat will go 185.
Hamzat will go up.
Huge.
I'm saying that the takedown threat Whitaker was also 170 of them.
Yeah, Hamzat is bigger than Jack, and Jack is 185.
Massive. Hamzat's huge, man. Come on.
Yeah, Hamzat weighed more than they did a wrestling match. I think Hamzat weighed more than Jack in the weigh-in.
No, there's no debate. Hamza could take down anyone at middleweight. Can he
Yeah, I
hold
think
them
so.
down? I don't know. I honestly think he could take down anyone at middleweight. But he might blow his gas tank in doing so.
If
But he
Whitaker
could.
can take him down, then I guarantee Hamzat can take him down.
Definitely.
That's going to be the
100%.
conversation that everyone has now. Like, if Whitaker can take him down, that's his main weakness.
Like I think Usman is a harder fight for Hamzat than Adesanya, stylistically. I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of things
What they
that
can
we
do
want
better,
them-
you were saying, Kim.
Yeah. In terms of things that we want these fighters to improve on, I kind of feel Adesanya was forcing a lot of like the fight ending strikes that he did. You would
Really?
see it in his shoulders. I also think he went more head hunting than he usually does. Obviously, the legs were a big factor here, but not a lot of body shots really. I think that would have helped out because Whitaker did a really good job at avoiding all of the big shots by Izzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah, he was, but it was also Izzy. Like Izzy was pushing him towards the cage, but
Every time.
he was pushing him, but kind of waiting for him to waiting for Rob to go in and then time him. He wasn't like pressuring him in the sense that he was throwing a lot when he was when his back was in the cage. He was throwing, of course, leg kicks, setting up some head kicks and that sort of thing, but he was mostly like throwing something, and then waiting for Rob to answer and then try to counter, right?
Yeah, but that's
So
a
it's like
natural for him, right? Like,
yeah, it's a kind of like it's a counter, a counter punching style, it's just normal counter striking style. So it's like I think maybe what Adesanya can do, maybe not. Like eventually, Adesanya is gonna run into maybe a guy around his size, and he can't wait.
Loses the reach advantage.
Yeah, when the reach advantage evens out, when the height advantage evens out, might be a fight where as a striker you're forced to engage and you're forced to take more risk.
Who's the guy that knocked him out? Is it Pereira? Rodrigo?
Yeah, it was Pereira. Yeah,
Pereira. He's massive. I think he might have a longer reach than Adesanya.
They're pretty much the same, like size, like height, reach. They're like is pretty much the same.
We saw this with John Jones as well. Like when that reach advantage is taken away, you see a lot more vulnerability. The modern day light heavyweight gave John Jones way more trouble than the Chael Sonnens and the Daniel Cormiers and and that was a lot to do with that reach advantage they lost.
Yeah, is because the reach advantage in all of his fights, he's always had it. It's become a big part of his style to always be like, all right, everyone I face, I'm gonna be longer than them and I'm gonna be taller than them. But then you meet a guy where you're kind of the same size, and then you don't have those safe options anymore as the longer guy. You can't be like, I'm just gonna stand here and there's literally nothing you can do to touch me unless you step too far. You put the fingers in the eye in case they want to dip their head too much in. So I think for future improvement for his other future opponents, then maybe Adesanya can try to improve in that area as well.
If we're good on time, right now, let's try to cover some of the other fights right now. But
I want to add to that. For me, because as I'm talking to you guys, I'm watching the fight back again for the third time. I'm just letting the rounds play, as you're saying, and a lot of the stuff you're saying is 100% accurate. One thing I would say for me, if I'm going to be critical of Adesanya, is what you said, Kim. He was feinting, he was analyzing, he was looking for the big shot a lot in this fight. If you look at the way he fought Romero, he kind of just abandoned the whole I'm going to knock this guy out because it was too risky for him. And he just chewed the leg up like for the entire fight, right? Now that fight was terrible. It's not the best example, right, of a top quality Adesanya fight. But the leg is just there for the taking at all times in this fight. And he's just, because he's so fixated on trying to get a head kick or a counter right hook, he hardly threw any. He didn't throw that many leg kicks. Actually, go back and look at the fight and look how many times Whitaker was in range, backed up against the cage. He's looking for something big almost every time, Adesanya. And I feel like that is something he could improve on. If a guy's being extremely defensive and is not overextending, the leg kick is like there wasn't no. I didn't see one leg kick checked. He's just done one now. Oh my god! It opened up everything else. Like I mean, he should have just done a lot more of those. If I'd say anything from this fight.
Yeah, there was this one sequence that I saw at least 3 times. It was fade back, lead leg, head kick. Like he kept trying to bring Whitaker in, and then he would throw like a right hook, and then people would think that'll be it, but then there'd be a sneaky kick to follow. I think that was probably the thing that he was. I mean, obviously he's working on other things, but that's probably the thing that he was really trying to end the fight with, and he saw there was a vulnerability there. It was always his Whitaker's open. How do you describe that? His backhand side that he was trying to land that in. Whitaker, I feel because we've talked about Adesanya this entire time. I think Whitaker didn't control that fight in terms of octagon control at all during the entire. If he got the takedown, he got it off of some reaction, which is kudos to him. But he would sometimes get Izzy against the fence, and he would back off to the middle, and then that's probably because he's just in the back of his mind, he's like, "This is danger, like I need to get away from this." I think that could be worked on, and then that will open up what he's already shown works against Izzy, and that is wrestling.
Yeah, I agree.
I like what Michael Bisping said during the fight. Michael said in the early stage, once Izzy had a hard time. Who's that? Oh, sorry, I thought the cat came in my room. in the early stage, Michael Bisping said, "Okay, he's lunging in a little, which is what got him knocked out the last time, right?" Yeah. And then I think John Anik said that, and then Michael Bisping said, "But he needs to.
Yeah,
he can't do it too often, but he needs to
because it's the reach."
The reach. And Izzy's so good at measuring it, right? But I honestly feel like if I want to say one thing Rob could improve on, I mean, he found a home for that jab, man. It was very hard to read the jab from Izzy's perspective. And it was kind of irritating for Izzy. I saw him getting clipped quite a few times. If he had a bit more power in it, might have even rattled him one or two. There was a hook. It was coming around the side. It was going down straight, throwing 2 or 3. I'd love to see, I know I said this at the start of the recording, but I'd love to see those rare occasions where you take that risk and you kind of lunge forward. I'd love to see him end with a right or two, or maybe feint the jab and throw a right. I don't know if his hand was hurting or something, but I can probably count on 2 hands how many rights he threw that entire fight. He didn't throw any rights at all.
I think when you throw the right as a counter, it leaves you a bit more exposed compared to when you throw your left. You're a lot more covered and it's quicker, and you can get out quicker. And I think he was maybe scared to follow up with after we landed the left into a right, because Adesanya was always like swinging, even if he got hit. Sometimes he was swinging, lead right hooks or left hooks or whatever, based on the stance that he was. So I think for Rob, he felt safe doing like single shot counters every time, or no, single shot like entries or even counters. Sometimes he countered Adesanya as well, instead of going for like long combinations when some can miss, and then you get clocked by Izzy, right? So that was Rob's, like he felt the safest doing that.
Great takedown. I just saw it. Beautiful.
And in terms of octagon control, is can you guys hear me? In terms of octagon control, it's normal for the shorter fighter to either be backing up a lot or be just very close. In the mid-range control is always gonna be the longer, taller fighter. Most if their striking is, especially at Adesanya's level, they're mostly gonna control that mid-range. So it was very hard for Rob to navigate through that, because he was like, I can't be in that range where he can just hit me and I can't touch him. I gotta be either too far away, like a little bit far away, or way up close, right? So,
but he did. But I think he did way up close well. And you're right. The reasons why he didn't throw are absolutely right. I think psychologically, the knockouts in his head. It's exactly how he got knocked out last time. He's also very respectful. Like, we haven't mentioned this, but he's very respectful of Adesanya's striking. Yeah, almost a bit too respectful. I feel like, if it's kickboxer versus kickboxer, I get it, but it's an MMA fight. There are things you can do to deviate away from and rattle a kickboxer's natural game, especially now you've threatened a takedown or two. And I feel like he was too hesitant to kind of engage in that because of what's happened in the past, and because he's got so much respect for Izzy's stand-up. But he was landing these jabs, and he was putting Izzy off. And you're right, Izzy's always got his eye on the target. Even as he gets hit by a jab, he could be swinging. But like Michael said, not all the time, but once or twice. Let's follow up and see what happens. Right? I mean, I say that now, and then he doesn't want to get knocked out the next fight. I mean, it's easier said than done, but it just feels like that there was an opportunity there that wasn't taken, is what it feels like.
And also remember, he got knocked down the first round. So
we got knocked down. We got knocked down defensive
yeah.
on cage. It wasn't throwing anything.
So it was like he got knocked down on his ass, and he was probably like that was also like okay, you know.
Yeah, that definitely put his stake in his head for the fight.
Yeah, you know. So it was not just the previous knockout; it was literally that first round. He probably was like, okay, let me just not get hit.
But hold on a second, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Why am I on the floor right now?
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah, that sucked. Yeah, no, kudos to Izzy for that because that played a massive factor in the rest of the fight. I feel.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You guys want to spend a couple of minutes on the co-main? I'll take away.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I think that was a pretty fun fight to watch, and it had a little bit of everything.
Oh my god!
It had like Derek Lewis doing fucking being like an Olympic wrestler.
Outside trip.
Like, yeah, outside
trip. Dude, that shit was impressive, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where he learned. I don't know why he, in all of his fights, he suddenly just decided to take. This is the fight he decided to go for takedowns and that sort of thing.
I think it's interesting, actually. It kind of obviously it shows that he's evolving in his game, but it also shows that he can execute it at the highest level. So there's room for improvement there.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
If you stand up, I mean, the way that, of course, he's mainly going to win by knockout. But if there is something that he can make the opponent worried about even more so than his right hand, why not, right? And a heavyweight.
100%, yeah. And look, can we talk about Tuivasa's chin for a second? Because he got Tuivasa down.
Godlike. It's godlike.
He took wrist control of one hand, and Tuivasa was so focused on getting up, he just left his head exposed and just crawled himself up. And I can't remember who it was. Derek Lewis knocked someone out this exact same way. Lewis's right hand was free. Tuivasa trying to get up, and he threw him like 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah,
4.
yeah.
Who is it?
I remember. I think
Gonzaga.
Yeah, it was like it was a weird position in the cage, and I think he just clocked.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, and he was gone. Tuivasa ate like 5 to the temple, 1 to the jaw, and he was definitely rattled. You saw him kind of shaking, and he just kind of shook and just got up. And I was like, "What the? This is Derek Lewis we're talking about here. He's just taking touch from Derek Lewis." That was incredible. That was, and then the fight, as you know, went the way it went. That moment there for me, was a massive standout for me because you don't get hit by Derek Lewis like that and keep going unless, of course, you're tied to Tuivasa. So I think that might have surprised Lewis as well. He might have been a bit like, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
like what?
And he probably, his conditioning is not that great. He has a lot of power, and he's actually very strong, like Derek Lewis, just physically just mad strong. So I think he probably in those exchanges he had with Ty and the wrestling, he was maybe a little bit exhausted.
Yeah,
and Ty was still standing there, and I guess Ty rattled him in the second round, probably rung his bell, right? Plus, he was a little bit tired, and that's heavyweight. That's the fight.
He definitely rattled him before the elbow.
Let's close off with this. So Ty was ranked number 11, and then this fight just it just kind of happened. To be honest, like he just threw it out there in the air, and Derek was like, "Well, I want to fight soon and make more money." So Derek was number 3. So it's fair to say Ty is going to be at least number 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Yeah.
He actually kind of skips a lot of really good fighters that would be decent trouble. So there's Stipe, who's number 2, Don, who's number 1. I mean, number 5 is Volkov.
Oh my god,
that fight is 50.
Yeah. I don't think he's beating Volkov, for example. Ty.
I'm watching this, and he took to the temple 3 massive blows from Derek Lewis. Then he stood up. And they just started swinging, right against the Octagon gate. He was both swinging.
He had to.
But, you can tell that Derek is 1 round in, as he's backing away from that swing, he's takes a big breath, what the hell are you still doing here? You could tell he was kind of shattered from that exchange.
Yeah. For example, I'm looking at the top 5 heavyweights now. Yeah. And Volkov, I think is bad matchup.
Yeah, it's a bad match, really bad match.
Curtis Blades is bad matchup too.
Horrible match.
I think if Derek could take Tuivasa down, I'm pretty sure Blades can take him down. But obviously, when it's a heavyweight fight, anything can happen. But I'm just going by on paper, right? I
I'd
think
say
those are,
Blazers' chin is very vulnerable these days. It's taken a lot of
yeah.
damage.
So you never know, but
You never know.
on
But that's a
paper,
bad matchup.
that's a bad matchup, I think.
It's a bad
And then
matchup,
obviously Cyril Gane is I think a terrible matchup for
Agreed.
Tuivasa.
Agreed.
But so when I'm looking at this top 5, I think Stipe is like. I think Stipe is not a. I think Stipe has the advantage. It's not the worst matchup on the list, but I think Stipe has the advantage over Tuivasa. But then I look at Derek, and I think he's the best matchup that was on the list for Tuivasa. It was like his most.
true. Yeah.
It was like
Styles
his
make
most
fights. Yeah.
probable. Like if Tuivasa had to fight any of these guys, I think Derek would be the best matchup for him.
Yeah.
And he was lucky enough to get him. And now he skipped the rankings to probably like 4th, 5th, maybe even 3rd. What Derek Lewis rankings was, right?
Well,
and
this is the thing. You're probably super amped to watch Ty's next fight, right? He's like he's an interesting character. He's got personality.
I watch all of Ty's fights. It's mad fun to watch.
Yeah,
he's a fun fighter.
He's in the who did he beat before Lewis? Football guy. What's his name?
Greg Hardy.
Greg Hardy. Yeah. No, was there someone else after?
He fought someone else after. It was
someone big.
Yeah, it was someone big.
Sakai.
Yeah. No. Wait. Yeah.
No, it's the young guy, right? You talking about Lewis, or you talking about Tuivasa?
Tuivasa. So it was Augusto Sakai.
Sakai. I remember. Yeah, Sakai. I remember the Sakai fight.
So he has 2 big wins. And he's obviously in the limelight. And if you beat Derek Lewis, and with Lewis's following, you're going to, people are going to pay attention to you. So I think Ty put himself in a great position. One more win. I also agree. I think Stipe has the advantage, but it's probably the best matchup for Ty right now. But he beats one more person, title shot. I say.
Yeah, but he's not. But the problem for Ty is what Phenom said, right? He's not well-rounded enough for that division. So as much as I like him, big fan, his fights are always fun. Mm-hmm. His style and his lack of like grappling capabilities, he's just very vulnerable to the guys in that top 5. All of them can turn to wrestling potential. I think even Gane, if he wanted to just not keep him at distance and strike him, could probably out-wrestle.
Could probably out-wrestle him there.
So it's a big vulnerability to have it at heavyweight.
But that's heavyweight. If he can land, if he can hit everyone.
Of course, yeah. That's the thing about heavyweight, right? You've always got a puncher's chance. I mean, Derek Lewis is the best at this. He hasn't got the best takedown defense, Derek Lewis, but he's so good at reading the takedown. He just reads the takedown and knocks you the freak out for it. Like, that's it.
So, but I think Francis is not gonna. Maybe let's say Francis goes to boxing or something, then maybe Ty has to wait for Stipe, John Jones to fight. So I don't think Ty is fighting for the title anytime soon, because the situation is a little bit, complicated now.
Oh, with the knee surgery and everything. That's a good point.
Is Ngannou's not gonna fight for a while? Is he gonna fucking vacate the belt even? Like, we don't know. Mm-hmm. And then let's say he does vacate the belt and they have an interim championship. It's probably not gonna be Tuivasa. It's probably gonna be like Stipe and Jones.
Oh, vacate. That's what you said. I was like, wait.
Yeah, because he wants to quit. He wants like either vacate or interim.
You're taking to make out of Phenom's accent. You're a waste man, kid. You're racist.
No, it's my bad. It's my bad.
No, V's are like W's. Is it like Germany where the V's are like W's a little bit?
Yeah, kind of. Vacate. He's gonna if Francis vacates, or if he doesn't vacate but they make an interim title fight, I don't think he's gonna be Tuivasa at the moment. He probably needs one more fight, and all the other matchups I don't think they're looking good for him.
Guys, I know we're tight for time, but this is a great example of how you win the fight makes a big impact. I think if he just edged a split decision win against Derek Lewis, I don't think anyone will be talking about top 3, top 4 ranking. It's how you win that really matters. And you got a guy in freaking Cannonier who gets battered the first round, like 10-8, submit. It's the game. The fight's over. If the clock wasn't there, he's going to get submitted, right? But then the way he went and beat Brunson, the way he beat him is like you can't deny the guy the title fight. That's like,
he was like direct. The crowd was behind him. I think he trains in Houston, if I recall. Maybe Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the way he did it too, like, it's undeniable. Like, the crowd's behind him. He's telling Dana, like, fucking look at me right now. Look at me. Like yeah, he did.
And that's more interesting than seeing a rematch. I mean, actually, a rematch between Brunson and Adesanya could have been interesting, but Brunson still kind of reverts to old habits if you can control him for long, if he doesn't get the takedown soon enough, which is kind of what happened in this fight, right? So yeah, it's interesting, Cannonier versus Adesanya. Even though Adesanya has a huge edge, you still think, okay, it's someone different. He hasn't fought this guy before, and he's just won like that. So big kudos to Tuivasa for winning the way he did, and of course Cannonier.
Yeah. It's a new opponent for Adesanya now with Cannonier. Personally, I don't think he's gonna beat Adesanya. I think he already fought Romero, and is the same big, bulky, explosive, dude. And I don't see it. I don't think Cannonier can pose any.
I wouldn't take that Romero fight into consideration for it. Romero fought that fight like an idiot. I mean,
but if he rushed in, he would get knocked out.
Yeah. Potentially, but I mean, what he would. But what he did was no better. Like, he literally.
Yeah.
Adesanya's got a good point he makes every time he's going to fight someone. I'm the champ. Come get my belt. Right. I'm the champ. You very rarely see someone lose the belt on a split decision.
You can't just put the blame on. Because, like...
No, I do. Romero's 40 years... Listen, no.
Of course. I understand.
Listen, Phenom, I watched the video. Video. Remember the video. Anything you want in this life, you want, go take it. Remember that video? Do you remember that video?
I remember, yeah.
Real Romero? Staring at the camera? Anything is possible in your life. You just take it, man. Just go take it. He got me convinced he was going to fight that fight. Like it was
a good speech, dude. It was a good.
You go into a fight like that in your 40s. You finally got a title shot, and then you just stand there at the back of the what's going on. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. No. I get what you're saying, but
you fell for Romero's charm, and that's on you. That's not on that's not Romero's fault. He was just trying to sell, make some money. But Adesanya also talks a lot before the fight, but then he has a boring fight. He's like, I'm gonna do this and that. I'm gonna put him in a dark place or whatever.
And he's a counter fighter and he's a champ. He can chat shit and fall short if he gets the win. Who cares? You got to take the title off him.
No, but I think at some point, when you have I'm not saying every Adesanya fight is boring. The fights where their opponents try to go in on him, they're very fun because they get knocked the fuck out. But the fights where the opponent is like, you know what, this guy, I'm not gonna play. Like, you can't just force a guy to be like, hey, you have to play into this guy's strength. Otherwise, if the fight is boring, it's your fault. It's like, okay, come on. It's neither fault. It's just like, it's just how it is. It's like when you meet a counter striker like that.
I disagree. You can't say it's neither's fault.
No, it's both. It's either both.
No, I even take the onus off Adesanya completely, and I'm not even like that. I'm kind of like biased against him sometimes. I think he's a prick unnecessarily. Even though I'm Nigerian, I got love for him. Like, I'm not pro Adesanya, no, right? Like, but for me, he is what he is. We know what he is. His opponents know what he is. And now he's the champion. Now he's the title holder. It's even harder, right? Because he's going to fight a certain way and you've got to be able to deal with that, right? For me, if you're Romero and it's the last fight of your career, potentially, there's only one person to blame for that fight being dull and the way it was. It's just ridiculous. Like, you've got to put a bit more, fair enough, don't overextend and leave your shit in the air, but good Lord, do something. Yeah. Like, you can't just sit there and just wait for a whole fight and it's your last chance.
Wait, okay, this is kind of off the cuff, but
sorry guys.
When you think about playing Daigo or Fudo, you have to play their game. Like, you have to play their game. Like, maybe this is a 3.4 experience. So like, I was gonna say
Phenom definitely doesn't play Daigo's game.
But in my limited experience in Street Fighter 4 then.
Yeah.
In Street Fighter 4, I always felt that like Daigo just stood still. He just stood still and he was like, I'm cool with this. I'm gonna throw fireballs because I'm good at throwing fireballs, but you have to approach me.
But I disagree. I think anyone who played Daigo's game lost to Daigo.
Yeah,
the people who beat Daigo were the ones who freaking Mon playing like an absolute nut job against Daigo beat Daigo,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying it's not a reliable strategy, but I think playing his game, unless you're John Choi or Ryan Hart, you don't play Daigo's game. You have to infiltrate Daigo's game, or you got no chance.
It all depends on the matchup as well. I think Daigo could not do the standstill approach against Dudley probably because Dudley can EX roll under a fireball. It changes everything in the way you approach
I think it's
neutral,
I think
right?
it's a pretty bad matchup in general.
Or Bison.
Or Bison, right? Bison EX scissor kick. Daigo can't just play his normal. I'm gonna wait for you throw fireballs.
But if you give it your choice, this turned into a Street Fighter 4 conversation.
No, but the principles are very similar because Adesanya is the longer guy. He has the reach. He's the height. He's the counter striker. Like the way he fights most effectively, according to his tools, is by waiting for his opponent to overextend, right, and then countering. Is risk free
at some point.
Is risk free, and
it's not completely risk free.
It's not completely. Not completely. But
he often Israel gets hit. He gets
less
hit
risky. It's a less risky option. Like he that one fight he got hit a lot, yes. But
he gets, even when he knocked out Robert Whitaker, he took a blow straight to the jaw as he knocked out Robert Whitaker. But he often takes one to give one
while going back. It's like
it's not like Mayweather. It's not like Mayweather or early days Dominic Cruz. I mean, these guys just didn't get touched.
Yeah, boxing is the gloves, right? Is a bit different. You can take punches without getting you can block easier with the boxing gloves. So in MMA, sometimes when you would block a punch with boxing, you would get hit in MMA. You can't guard, you can't. So it's a bit different that in that.
That's not the only reason. Adesanya gets hit way more than the examples I've given. Like, so for me, I agree with you, but he's not this like perfect untouched. He's been knocked out in kickboxing before as well. Like, I mean,
of course,
the guy gets hit, the guy gets rattled. He's not often. Course. He's incredibly good. His distance management's fantastic. But I do think if you go into that fight with the attitude like Whitaker had yesterday and Romero had, no one's ever beaten this guy. No one's ever going to beat him. That's ridiculous. You can't fight his game every single time you fight him. You have to do what Bisping said. You have to overextend every now and then. You have to take a little risk, So for me, I'll never forgive Romero for getting me excited like that for no reason.
I mean, he
did the original topic. I forgot.
he wasn't prepared to get knocked out. That was probably why he didn't want to get knocked out.
Yeah, all right. That's a fair statement. You have to be prepared.
You have to kind of accept like, okay, this is the type of fight. If I want to win, I have to accept the fact I might get knocked out. While Adesanya is like, there is a very clear path for him in all 100%. Those fights where he's like, okay, I can take very minimal damage, as little as possible. Maybe I get hit more than I want, but I have the tools to avoid more damage, taking more damage compared to him, right? For Adesanya, like every fight Adesanya
100%, I agree. Yeah.
Gives more damage.
Well, this is why fighters always say like you have to fight your own game, because as soon as you're in that mindset, soon as you're in that mindset where it's like the opponent has the advantage and then you stop doing what you're good at, you basically lost already, or at least you're not practicing to the greatest potential of how you could have won that fight.
So it's like some fighters when they're, let's say the way they have to beat Adesanya, it's not going their way. Like they're trying to go in, but it's not going their way. Maybe they're like, you know what, don't want to get knocked out. I'm just gonna stand back. Fuck it, I'll lose on points or whatever, right?
Which is understandable. Like,
it sucks getting knocked out. It's not. No,
it's not good for you as well. You've got family and kids at home.
Brain damage. Like, you don't want that.
They threw the towel in. They threw the towel into the Brunson fight. Did you see that?
Yeah.
When Cannonier went down, towel came into the octagon because they were like, it's over. It's over.
It didn't save him though. It didn't save him from like 3 elbows.
Yeah, he took that 3 elbows. Cannonier's a bit of a prick for that. That fight was over, man. But you gotta do your job. I get it. You gotta do your job.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good. I think we're good for this episode. There is a very interesting fight coming up though with Beneil Dariush versus Makhachev.
That's such an exciting fight.
Do you guys want to cover that one? Because if it's not that one, then I think it goes without saying. Huntington Masvidal, we're fucking doing an episode. We're fucking.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Let's do both, man. Come on.
We can do both. I think we can do both.
We can do both. Sundays, right?
Yeah. They're both Sundays. Next week is the super tall 205. I keep forgetting his name.
Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker. There we go. Super tall 205.
Next week, yeah.
Too good. That interests himself when he wins.
He's a tall, he's a big, tall, long dude that shouldn't fight the way he does.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
gets exposed. He's got such
he
good
should
range,
learn
doesn't
more
use
from
it.
Adesanya. Like, just
Yes,
use your
yes,
legs, you know,
yes.
and just like fucking you don't need to be crazy. Like,
Oh,
it's
but
fun
that
though.
There's a YouTube highlight reel of him getting knocked. He's been getting knocked out since before UFC. Like, he's just got so many knockouts like
Yeah,
against him.
yeah, it's crazy.
Poor guy. But yeah, no, he's an exciting fighter. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
very exciting. Yeah.
All right, cool. So maybe I'll see you guys February 26th for that
Yep.
Mahashev fight. But definitely, God damn it. They aired this promo for Masvidal Covington. I was like, I understand now. I understand why they can headline a pay-per-view.
Come on, man.
It's so good.
That backhand story is ridiculous. It's
so good, dude.
It's ridiculous. The amount of stuff they've captured, like from the conversation. I mean, the way they used to talk about each other was crazy. Especially Covington. Covington was more outspoken than Masvidal about how much he appreciated that relationship.
Yeah.
Me and Masvidal against the world, buddy. He's my best friend. Masvidal's want to fight tonight. What a scumbag, man. What happened? Oh, that's crazy, man.
It's like I saw like a video, like an old video, like highlighting their best days as friends, and
yeah, I saw that.
It was this sad music in the background.
Yeah, I was that.
And it was like, damn, this is actually kind of sad. Like,
it is.
It's like best
together,
friends
like,
turn. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I don't think I've ever seen something like this. Like, because they lived together as well.
They lived together and they were super close. Like, the one that does it for me is when Masvidal first, like, he is on air when he first finds out Covington's trash talking him. Like, he clearly had no idea Covington was gonna throw their relationship under the bus. And the interviewer says, Covington said XYZ, bomb, journeyman, and Masvidal's, you can't act that. You can't act. Visibly, his face changed and he's like, oh, well, I mean, damn. If that's what he wants to do, and you can see that he's genuinely heartbroken in that moment. You know? He's genuinely like hurt, you know. So that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
It's actually fucking crazy. Like, I'm very invested in it because I feel it just feels so real.
So bad. I want him to win so bad, but he's got no chance. If I'm being honest, he's just got no chance. He's gonna get smothered.
It's all right. Like, I think Masvidal he got knocked out by Usman, but I think he did okay. Like, in the grappling, he got taken down, he got back up. Got knocked out in the second fight.
But
he tends to get back up. He does tend to get back up.
Covington doesn't have that power.
He's never been subbed, right? Masvidal's never been subbed. Yeah,
only once, or like before UFC, like he got like there was a weird submission as well.
Reverse triangle or something.
Yeah, it was.
He's got great sub defense. I just worry Covington's style is very good, but yeah, so's Usman. But look, I think it's a very uphill fight for Masvidal, to be honest.
I don't think Covington is gonna like beat the shit out of him. I think he's gonna take him down, control him a little bit. Masvidal gets back up. They exchange a few blows. Covington takes him down, controls him a bit. Doesn't do hits him a little bit.
But Masvidal
gets back up.
but who's winning those rounds, right?
And then you get a 50-45 Covington.
Exactly.
Masvidal is just like, he's not gonna be like fucking, It's not gonna be taking
and he's
a lot
got
of damage.
Sneaky little puncher or knee chance. He could.
Yeah.
And we've seen Covington's chin. It's a good chin, but he can get rattled. He can get knocked out. So
it's gonna be a frustrating one.
Stream. Yeah. It will be for all of us. Wait, hold on. Anyone here rooting for Covington? Kim, you rooting for Covington?
No.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite a painful one to watch.
I don't mind him as much as most people, but I'm not rooting for him.
Actually, I've grown quite fond of him in recent months.
Yeah,
but for this specific fight, just for what he did, to this guy, and because I've seen Masvidal's genuine initial reaction to the betrayal, I just want him to get knocked the frick out so bad. But probably isn't. Yeah, we'll see.
Like the guy is. I don't know him fucking personally, but the thing he fucking does is basically just WWE.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, either I say nothing and I get no money, or I have to be hated. And maybe he's just his natural personality. He's like, maybe let me just turn my personality up a notch, maybe over exaggerate, and then I'll make some money at least. But fuck,
I mean, it's
probably his. Yeah, of course,
he was 10. What was he? 10-0 when they were going to cut him, or 10-1?
Yeah,
and they were going to cut him. He was winning all his fights. It's not like he was on a losing streak.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. I wouldn't have thought. I just think there should be boundaries, man. Like wives and children.
Yeah, he has no boundaries.
He has no boundaries. Best
That's like
friends.
very interesting with him. It's like Chael, I feel was like very witty with his trash talk. He had the like if he went
Chael
over the
had
line with a
guidelines. He had
joke,
guidelines for his trash talk.
He had guidelines. Yeah, he did.
yeah, he had
a
some
line,
guidelines. Yeah, he never went like fucking like your wife's a hoe, your child is
Yeah.
this,
Mhm.
and you know
I
all
mean,
like
come on.
fuck Brazil. Like Chael would make fun of Brazil, but he wouldn't say like fuck like Brazil is a dump, fuck Brazil, whatever, right?
Come on,
Chael
man.
would never say that. He would just make fun of like the bus and the carrot. I don't know, some Nogueira
Nogueira
joke he
brothers,
made.
yeah.
About the bus and the carrot or whatever. That was actually funny, but Colby is not funny. He's just trying to trigger hate, right? That's his way of getting attention.
Yeah. But it works. We want to watch him fight. I always tune in to watch him fight, hoping he'll get knocked out. You know.
Yeah, same. I want to see him get knocked out too. I was
We want to watch his
disappointed
fights.
Usman didn't knock him out, but I'm gonna be disappointed this time when Masvidal doesn't knock him out
Look,
as well. So.
and even though I'm 90% sure Covington wins that fight 40, let's say I think maybe he gets caught once, which will give us just for that moment of excitement where he actually gets caught, because I don't think it's finished in Masvidal, right? So we're gonna see a 5-rounder. There's a puncher's chance. Just for the potential, I'll watch the whole fight, man. I'll be up for that.
Yeah,
just to hope.
Yeah, same.
So Covington's done a great job because I'm tuning in.
Yeah, yeah. He I mean, you can definitely you can't defend the morality, but you know he does what he wants, I guess.
They've trained together, so that's it. I mean, we always have that in the back of our heads, you know, like they know things that their other opponents don't know, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's
patterns.
That gives that will increase the pay-per-view purchases like 5% or something.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you know, when you are a fighter, you're risking your fucking life every time you enter the cage. So if you, I can see in the sense from Covington's standpoint, like he says all this shit, but at the end of the day, when he goes in there and he is risking brain damage, he probably wants to get paid as much as he possibly can, you know, without being like, oh, I want to be nice to you or whatever, but I'm fucking getting hit in the head and I'm getting paid 50K, 50, was it? Only 50K, and then half of it goes to taxes and the gym and whatever, and you have like one fight a year and you only make 25K. It's nothing, right? So yeah, like the fight game is different in that sense, and that there aren't really many rules to what you can and can't say, because nothing is really worse than fucking getting brain damage. That's like the worst thing possible, and that's allowed. So like, yeah, it's it is what it is, I guess.
And hopefully you won't get brain damage from listening to our episodes, which you can follow us at Fight Scrubs Pod. So please follow us here. I think we've gone over the hour already, so I appreciate both you guys' times. But it's fair to say we'll be here back on March 6th, the night after UFC 272. But maybe that Mahashev Dariush fight too. We'll see.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for having me, guys.
See you guys next
Lots
time.
of love. Speak soon.